We've always been a remote first company.
Nice.
And in 2020, especially when we were first starting out, that was a huge differentiator and help from a recruitment standpoint, because so many companies in the Philippines were forcing back to work mandates. And people were just like, in the Philippines, it's very common to live with the whole family and the grandparents. And it's not safe to go to the office and then come back with 80-year-olds.
Absolutely not.
So that was a huge move for us to always start remote first. And it really was a differentiator and helped us kind of compete against the larger BPOs that were stuck in that office mindset.
100%. Welcome back to Make America Remote Again. I'm here with my friend Josh Adelman in Medellin, Colombia. Josh, thank you so much for coming.
Kagzilla. Buenas tardes.
Josh, I just found out, who I've known for about a year or two. So he's a Russian Jew, lives in Colombia, from Atlanta.
That does a staffing company.
That's unreal. We were like, what did this? How did this happen? So I'm excited to dive into Josh's story and really what he does with his staffing company, because in a sense, we're in the same industry, but in two different verticals. So first off, Josh, I'm always curious, how did you end up in Medellin, Colombia?
I came here 8 years ago for a 1-week trip that turned into 8 years. I've heard this story a lot, but I canceled my return flight after 1 week. And basically, I was doing my last semester of college abroad in Ecuador and came over to check out Medellin. I heard great things. I heard it was like Quito, but 10 times better. And literally within the first 24 hours, I fell in love with the city, with the culture, with the people. And 8 years later, still loving it.
It's amazing, man, because I consider myself an OG, being here for over 4 years now, but you're like a true OG. There's the pre-COVID people and post-COVID people, and you're in that world. So you've been here for 8 years, and then right around when did you start your staffing company, and how did the idea come up? Because we both are in very random spaces, if you think about it, especially as we don't staff our own people, so it's even more random. So how did you get into the space?
Yeah, I always joke that my family, the Eidelman family, were a group of entrepreneurs, but we always get into the most random businesses. Like my uncle has a box company. I'm doing staffing for Colombians and Filipinos. But the origin story is that when I first landed in Medellin, Colombia, I was doing a tech startup in augmented reality, building a platform for teaching the trades to plumbers and electricians, but in a more engaging way. And the tech was really cool, and it was a great first exposure to engineering talent in Colombia, but we never got product market fit. So I went back to LA. This was late 2017, early 2018. And I was pitching VCs as kind of a final last-ditch effort to keep cash flow and keep our runway going. And I land in LAX and I see all these scooters flying around. I'm like, what the hell are these scooters doing here? And 2 weeks later, I started working at Bird. I kind of gave up the AR startup idea and applied to work at Bird in the very early days.
Wow.
And that was during their crazy hypergrowth phase. So within the first 6 months, we hit a $1 billion valuation, and we were launching 3 cities every single week.
Yeah.
And basically, we just couldn't hire internally quickly enough.
So before you go there, what did you do for Bird? What did you apply for?
Operations.
Operations.
Yeah. So operations associate. It was kind of
in LA.
Interesting. In their Venice Beach office.
I always wonder, who works for these companies? You work for those companies. That's so interesting.
Here they are. Yeah.
Well, because Bird kind of started the trend, right? And then Lyft came out, and then all these other ones came out, and now it's interesting because I feel like I've seen less electric scooters than I usually, because I think those accidents and this times. But so then you applied, you worked as an operation manager, and you saw that they lacked in staff, or what happened there?
Yeah, we just couldn't hire internally quickly enough, and it wasn't cost effective to hire college kids in LA.
Oh my god.
Also, you can relate to this well, hiring that Gen Z type of talent to do entry-level customer support type roles. They, after the first 6 months, they'll want to move into a marketing role or to a city launcher. So I went over to the Philippines, where the talent over there is super grateful to have a role just like Latin America, and extremely hardworking to work in those entry-level roles.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the client shoes at Bird, working with these larger BPOs and trying to find the right partner to work with. And all of the BPOs, I had so many pain points that I felt sitting in the client's shoes, between the ways that the contracts were structured, the turnover rate of their employees. Nothing's more frustrating than just ramping up with the BPO and spending a lot of time training their talent,
And then
only for them to leave to work at another BPO to make
yeah,
like 50 cents more an hour.
yeah.
So, I made some great connections in the Philippines, and many of those members are now on the NeoWork team. But yeah, that was really the impetus to start NeoWork and
Yeah.
address all the pain points that
Yeah.
I felt sitting in the client shoes.
Absolutely, man. I can so relate because I was doing that working for an agency coaching program, and I realized that they just continuously struggle with hiring VAs because they're going to Upwork and Fiverr, and I'm like, they're continuously missing the mark on how to hire people. And I'm like, I went to Colombia. There's some good talent there, and I'm not talking about the women. And I was like, maybe there's something here. But you literally went to the Philippines, right? And was this the reason you went to the Philippines to actually like? Was that the idea? And how? Because you're talking about 2018-ish, right? 2019. So this is like VAs were not that popular then. Like,
Yeah.
it's much more popular now. Were you sent there? Like, hey, dude, like you should go to Philippines. Like, what would transpire to even go there? Because it sounds like it was more than just a vacation.
Yeah. No, some members of the Bird team had outsourced previously when they worked at Uber and Lyft. So they had some contacts in Manila, and yeah, just kind of the next week I took the next flight I could and set up shop there for 6 weeks.
Was at any point, because even back then, onlinejobs.ph existed. Might not have been what it is today, but I know it definitely existed. How come you guys didn't just go the remote route immediately? Like, hey, let's just hire them remotely, and then like, maybe hire a manager there. Like, why did they feel like they need to send you there? Because that's pretty aggressive to send someone to the Philippines.
Right,
you don't speak Filipino. You're super white. Like, at what point was there a point where remote work was considered, and why did they feel like they need to send you there?
Yeah, if I were to do it all over again, I totally would have gone the remote way.
Yeah.
And I think we were just stuck in the office-based mindset of pre-pandemic. And I always say like COVID kind of killed the zip code for most companies.
Yeah.
And there's not much different if you're in LA to work with someone in New York versus working with someone in Medellin. Right?
100%.
So yeah, we were, I think, just constrained by our mindset and thinking that, there's definitely some value of having the team all together for team building events,
culture,
in-person training, some security concerns as
well. For sure.
But overall, a lot of those things are easy to address. So.
I totally agree, man. And it's interesting because they flew you out there pre-2020. Yep. So I think before 2020, like remote work was starting to get hot, but I think after after COVID, it became like the thing. So then you went there, probably had a good time in the Philippines, I'm assuming, because I've only heard good things. And that's when you started hiring talent for Bird, but it planted a seed in your head like, okay, there's something here. Is that right?
Yep.
And then how long were you working for Bird?
I was there for a year.
Okay. So just enough to like figure things out, but not enough to obviously just like be like, that's your life in a sense.
Exactly.
What was the transition from there to, what was the next transition in general?
Yeah. So I don't make the best employee. So after a year in, it's also started to get pretty corporate-y as we got larger and larger. I always remember coming back from a trip to the Philippines and like couldn't even get into the office for 2 hours because I didn't have an ID that they had set up that past month, and like it was all new faces in the office.
Yeah.
So anyways, I was really passionate about the team that I built over there and stayed connected with them, and briefly worked with a prop tech company, and then during the pandemic, that just like it birthed a lot of other companies. That was really the start of NeoWork. And started very small with just some clients that were from my network at Bird and other places I'd worked in the past.
Yeah.
And naturally expanded from there.
So before we get into this, because I'm so interested, you said you built relationships with your team members. How did you recruit when you went there? What was the process like? Were you posting job ads? And then because I'm so unfamiliar with recruiting in person, because that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
What was that process like? And did you, like you mentioned, you built relationships. Like, what was that experience like? Because it's a little bit different when you're there for the first time, you're white. I keep having to say this because you're probably one of the only people there at that point. So what was that process like of just getting the talent?
Yeah. I am very white, but I really tried to get as engrossed in the Filipino culture as possible.
Yeah.
Learn some Tagalog, and luckily there's a lot of overlap with Spanish actually. So, like even Fasa, Mesa, it's all same tenedor. But I would go back frequently and still kind of keep in touch with the talent from Bird. A quick funny story is that I went February of 2020, and I was just as I left, 2 hours after I flew out of Manila, the Taal volcano erupted. And if my flight was 2 hours later, I would have been stuck there for 2 weeks because they canceled all flights with all the smog in the air.
Oh my.
And then pandemic started, and there
Oh
was a
my.
6 month long lockdown. So I could have been stuck in Manila for like 6 months in 2020.
I'm pretty sure people did get stuck there
Yeah,
for a long
yeah,
time because I got stuck here
yeah,
during
yeah,
COVID.
yeah.
So you
But
built the relationships with them. How were you? What was your process of finding the talent?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, to answer your original question, it was tied to that original network of Bird and them referring their
Friends
friends.
and family and
And yeah, the first 20 hires we made were all referral based. And a lot of those teammates, they've now gone on to become managers at NeoWork or
Nice.
work as trainers.
Wow.
So really that core group of 20, it kind of set the culture for the rest
Yeah.
of the company. And then once we hit a certain size, we eventually transitioned one of those teammates to be a full-time recruiter and
So on
kind
and so
of
forth.
scaled our HR more formally. But in the early
Got it.
days, we were very startup-y and
Of course.
bring on the friends, the
Yeah.
family members,
Yeah.
and go from there.
I mean, usually when you hire someone good, they might know someone that's good,
Yep.
right? And worst case scenario doesn't work out, like it's not really their fault, right? Did you guys have an office? Like, did Bird have an office in Manila, and then they just staff people in person? That's what, and then you were basically managing that operation.
Exactly. Yeah. So Bird worked with the BPO.
Got
It
it.
was called Open Access.
Okay,
And we
okay.
worked at their office.
Okay, interesting. But did Bird worked with them, but they didn't own that office?
Correct.
Gotcha. So then, fast forward a year later. In your head, you're like, okay, I got this talented people. Where was the first like interaction in terms of like getting that client? Where you're like, hey, dude, do you know someone in the Philippines? Like, I'm looking for work. Like, where did that? Because it takes that first client. That first
Yep.
client is very magical. Actually, the first client I have is one of my close friends. He lives here. But who was your first client? How did that even approach? Because you were doing something completely different in a
Yeah.
sense. So what was that like?
The client's name was Karev. We're still working with them.
Nice.
And it was a reference from Bird. Someone working from Bird had moved over to work at Karev and kind of reached out, and we went from there. And I'm eternally grateful to Karev
Nice.
for
Shout out
setting
to
the
Karev.
stage. Yeah, shout out Karev.
I love it. I love it.
And then they also in the pandemic, so they're a marketplace for nurses essentially. Think of it like Uber for nurses. And with the pandemic, they also blew up across the U.S. and
Wait, they're what for nurses? They're a marketplace for nurses?
Yeah, like Uber for nurses. So nurses can go in their app
in person.
Work,
Yeah.
work extra shifts out of
Gotcha.
their hospitals.
Gotcha. Oh, in person. Okay.
Yeah. So with the pandemic, they expanded rapidly, raised a huge Series A, and we grew a team of 2 part-time people with them to 30 plus with them, and kind of started from there.
Cool. I love that, man. So the people. So then, when you first started with NeoWork, so the company's NeoWork. I like the name. Like NeoWork.
I like remote Latinos.
There we go. I love it. So NeoWork, and then do they work in an office, or did you make them go remote? Like, what was the experience in the beginning, and then how have you transitioned to what you guys do now?
We've always been a remote first company.
Nice.
And in 2020, especially when we were first starting out, that was a huge differentiator and help from a recruitment standpoint, because so many companies in the Philippines were forcing back to work mandates, and people were just like, in the Philippines, it's very common to live with the whole family and the grandparents, and it's not safe to go to the office and then come back with 80-year-olds.
Absolutely not.
So that was a huge move for us to always start remote first, and it really was a differentiator and helped us kind of compete against the larger BPOs that were stuck in that office mindset.
100%. And there's still a lot of them there. There's probably more BPOs than like non-BPOs, I'm assuming, right? And I could be wrong. Even if it's more, that's still crazy.
Yeah.
So you got the first client, and then obviously that was like, oh my gosh, there's something here. What was the next step for you to get more clients? How did you start growing the business? And then I have more questions after that. But yeah, what was the next step after the first client?
Yeah, it was a matter of first building out a lot of processes. So we're very operations heavy. We do the staffing and then actually do the oversight of management. And that involves building out, quality assurance rubrics, building out scorecards to incentivize the team, and Looker Studio dashboards to have metrics on how they're all performing, and even PIP process and coaching. So we built all that and did multiple variations on it. And as far as a sales perspective goes, we leaned in heavily to just giving away as much value for free as we could. So from a sales standpoint, we would position it as, hey, we're going to do an operations diagnosis of your company and, give out these templates for how to do QA for your support team and how to, management best practices and cultural nuances of working with teams in the Philippines or Colombia. And got great reception from that. And It also continued to be a lot of referral-based growth. Our best clients come from current clients, as you
Best
know.
clients come from the best clients, right?
Exactly. And also best salespeople are current clients.
Yeah, which is awesome.
So yeah,
Nice.
kind of grew naturally.
I love that. And you guys now, what's your? I'm curious because to share you with what we do, but what do you guys do to acquire business, and like what type of marketing do you guys do now? Because I'm sure it's much different than it was 3-4 years ago. So how do you guys acquire business today?
Yeah, so we're very LinkedIn heavy. LinkedIn has been a great platform for us over the years.
Nice.
We're also part of 2 BPO marketplaces. You might be interested in one of them. It's called Outsource Accelerator.
I definitely heard of them.
Yeah. Think of it like Yelp, but for outsourcing.
I've heard of them. Yeah, I haven't dove into them, but yeah.
And then another one is called Arena CX, which is more for like BPO style, like requests for proposals and longer sales cycles, but usually larger deal size.
Okay.
And then also do a podcast that I'd love to have you on.
Would love to be on.
That's a great, way of reaching out to founders I want to work with. And, instead of asking for a sales call, it's giving them free content and letting them present their brands.
I saw that you made a clip about that. I was like, that's very smart. I actually did that. I did that very indirectly. I did that and then I closed someone. I'm like, oh, maybe I should do more of that.
Yep.
So the BPO industry, man, it's really interesting because, in our space and every sales call I've taken, when I train my closer, I say there's 3 ways to hire remote workers. First one is you go on your own and try to find someone on Upwork, Fiverr. You pray, hope and pray that someone somehow falls to your lap. 2 is the BPO world, right? So when you outsource to a company and they do the training, managing, and you pay them. And 3 is headhunting, right? That's literally what we do. Obviously, because you came from the bird world, you were more familiar with BPO. Did you feel like at any point you wanted to transition to another model? Or did you always feel like this is, because for me, BPO, it's a great model, but it sounds like an operational nightmare, especially at scale. Like I think, first few clients is kind of easy, but like 30 clients, having 10 people, you have to different roles. It sounds like I can only imagine what your operation could look like. And that's what has scared me from doing that type of model. We're probably going to do some sort of thing like that in the future, but we stuck with headhunting because that's what I started. You started with BPO. Have you ever considered other models? And what over your overall, like, what are your thoughts about the BPO industry in terms of like the offer you guys deliver and, being able to scale this up to X amount of millions of dollars?
Yeah, great question. And one thing that I've always felt was wrong with the BPO industry was billing by the hour. I felt like it misaligns the incentives between the BPO and the client. With especially this is, larger BPOs are notorious for this of, throwing on more seats, more headcount just to rack up billable hours.
Yep. And underpaying the candidates.
Exactly.
So,
And clients want efficiency.
Yep.
So, while we do that model with some roles, I'm really pushing more and more of doing results-based billing. And I really see that being the future for BPOs.
Wow.
And the way to accomplish that is also leveraging AI. And instead of just having a large team of customer support reps, having some AI-assisted support reps handling tier 2 and tier 3, and then owning the tier 1 through full automations. And basically BPOs evolving from just doing staffing to really being like support consultants and owning all areas of support. So I'm really excited about that model. I think that it's also, in the future, these BPO teams will be a lot smaller headcounts, but the potential to have higher margin and produce a lot more value for companies by leveraging technology. So yeah, we've been really going deep into that route, and I see more and more of that in 2025. And then we've also played around with the global staffing route, which is similar to your model of, letting the clients manage the talent directly. A lot of clients prefer that setup. And frankly, since the pandemic, a lot more people in the US have gotten experience, managing Filipinos, managing Colombians, and know the ins and outs of it. So we're totally open to that model as well. And basically the difference, I think, is that we handle the benefits and payroll in the background, kind of as an ongoing basis versus like an upfront recruitment fee.
Yeah.
But similar idea.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people, they know what a BPO is, but they're not like super familiar with it. And they're always like, when they hear like my model, like, oh, I've never heard of this. I'm usually used to paying by the hour. There's actually competitors, like majority of your competitors actually, and my competitors are actually doing more of your model rather than my model because it's much more cash flow positive, right? But one thing you said that I'm very interested on is results-based driven like offer. Can you explain that to me? Because that sounds too good to be true. Like and I'm sure clients have also thought that. Like, what does that mean exactly? Do you guys pay to get a price? You don't have to like spoil everything you guys do, but like, what does exactly result-based driven results? Because I think I say we're result-based driven, but in reality, I'm like, you got to pay me, and then you'll get results.
Right.
So what exactly does that mean?
It's tied to the outcome of whatever the goal is. So if you have a customer support team that's looking for ticket resolution, it'll be billing by number of tickets solved. And that's a much more predictable billing model for clients. And instead of, needing to staff across multiple different, shift lines and 24/7 coverage, just having, tickets solved as the criteria.
Yeah.
And then we do a lot of back office workflows for startups.
Admin.
Yeah, admin. They're like credentialing for like, medical workers, things like that. And again, instead of billing by just having like people running 8-hour shifts, doing number of credentials completed or number of workflows completed.
So as a business owner, that sounds amazing. Both as like your competitor, I'm like, holy shit, we gotta like level up. Number two, as like a business owner, if I was to hire from you, it sounds amazing. The question is, it sounds also not scalable, because if you have one client, and I'm just asking questions, right? If I'm one client that wants video editing done, another one that wants X amount of sales done, and another one that has the admin work, how do you guys differentiate and how do you guys price it? Is it like very custom to the client needs and wants? How does that work? And like at scale, again, you have 100 clients, 100 different clients. I mean, that sounds like, again, a nightmare.
Yeah. The way we price it is basically doing time and motion studies. So whatever the workflow is, analyzing how long that typically takes, and then also seeing where there's opportunities to automate it through some of the AI partners that we work with. And then backing up from there to find what the appropriate bill rate would be per workflow. And, some of the other tasks you mentioned, like video editing, for example, that's a good example. That one is one where it's pretty tricky to do results-based billing because
long form, short form, clips.
And then how do you account for a number of revisions from clients? So we've started this more with the kind of basic tier 1 type workflows where it's very repeatable, very predictable what the kind of time investment is going to be. But I see more and more, and my team is working more and more on being able to expand this offering to higher level tasks as well.
Amazing. I like that. Yeah, it's a good offer. It's something, at the end of the day, Alex Hormozi's first book is $100 million offers, right? Because without a good offer, everything else kind of falls apart. Like you can't have a real company if people are not buying. So, you mentioned, so the way you acquire clients now is doing podcasts, obviously still word of mouth. LinkedIn is a huge benefit for you. So at what stage, so you were in the Philippines, I'm assuming for a couple of years, still there. At what point did you come also to Latin America and be like, yo, there's actually really good talent here as well? What was that transition like? And yeah, I have a lot of questions on that because that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, I've been talking a lot about the Philippines, but throughout this whole time, we also had a very small 3-person Colombia team running. And that was from my network back in 2017 when I first got here with my first AR business. And we did dedicated staffing of animation, actually. Because my first business here, we were in augmented reality. And, the team that was building the 3D models, they were all animators by training.
Makes sense.
So I kind of converted them into the agency model and direct staffing with one of my clients looking for animation and, basic video editing work too. And then really I've been doubling down on Colombia since 2023. I've seen more and more clients that maybe they had a bad experience with the Philippines, or they're looking for more time zone alignment or just cultural alignment with
bilingual.
The US. Yep, exactly. Yeah. Bilingual is a big one. Expanding the team here as well.
And then Colombia is where you guys don't go after other Latino countries, just mostly Colombia for now?
Yeah, just Colombia because we actually set up a business entity in the US. In Colombia. So we run the benefits and just the admin overhead and HR overhead of being in this one country. I've explored Argentina.
Nice.
It was a lot more appealing, 2 years ago than it is now.
For sure, the cost is more expensive today.
And then we were talking about this at dinner the other day. Venezuela.
Venezuela's awesome.
As soon as someone takes out Maduro, that's the next spot.
Yeah, we're already in Venezuela, but there's definitely issues, not specifically with the people, but internet or payment, and it's the things that I'm like, man, this person's so good, but their internet sucks, and then now they're not that good because you're not working.
Right.
So I'm actually curious, man, because we hire a lot of Colombians. It's probably our most popular country, and then Filipinos is up there, probably top 5. Egypt is up there. But for you, in your experience, What have you noticed that are biggest differences between Filipinos and Colombians in terms of work, skill, and experience?
Yeah, great question. So I'm going to make some sweeping generalizations here, but in general, the Philippines, it's important to know the culture of it. It's a very hierarchical culture. People like to be addressed by their titles and very top down. And what that produces is strength in large operations teams of just having everyone aligned behind the same goal. There's this concept in Tagalog called pakikisama, that's basically like group harmony. And whenever new hire joins, they're really overemphasized on wanting to align with what the rest of the group is looking for. So if you're looking for a large support team, large back office admin team, bookkeepers, Philippines is great for that. And having that structure of team leads and quality assurance layer and trainers. And then Colombia, on the other hand, is, and a lot of people like to sum up all of Latin America together, but every
Mexicans.
country, but every country has their own nuances. And what I find with Colombia is great level of creativity. If you come down to Medellin, you'll see it's the capital of reggaeton and big, modeling and fashion. But yeah, great creativity, independent thinkers, and a lot more comfortable with managing upwards or challenging things that don't make sense. And that's an area that Philippines can struggle with at times, of kind of saying no or like raising the hand if something should be done differently. So for more like individual contributor roles, like technical roles, like developers, I find Colombian talent to be very strong in those areas.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Filipinos, they've mastered the repeatable tasks, and a lot of times, not all of them, so I don't want to generalize, but a lot of times the tasks we give them don't require cognitive thinking, nor does it require something that's like super creative. However, there are very creative people in the Philippines. There are great salespeople in the Philippines. So I don't want to generalize, because we are in a sense generalizing. If you look at just in what most people hire Filipinos for, a lot of times it's the more executive accountant, bookkeepers. In Colombia, what we hire for is usually sales and marketing roles, right? Like my closer is Colombian, right? You can get on a call and close someone, where I've hired Filipinos and I'm like, man, you're going to have a hard time. And even though, it's funny because I actually want to talk to you about this, because my closer is Colombian. I'm hiring another closer and I want them to be Latin American based. I don't care where they're at, because I don't want to sell my product anymore. I love it. I've sold enough. I've sold hundreds of clients. I'm like, I'm good. Because ultimately I want someone else to be the face of closing Latinos. It can't be this white Jew. I'm like, I get it. Like, I'm the partner. But with Filipinos, I don't know if I would find a closer as a Filipino, but I think setters, they could do pretty good. Right? So with your closing team, I'm actually curious, because we have one closer, one setter. I'm also like a part-time closer. We're looking for another closer. What is your sales team like? And do you have like a setter and a closer? And are they mostly doing warm? Like, I'm so curious, because it's a little bit different process than mine.
So the closer at NeoWork is still me. I haven't gotten out of the sales-driven, founder-led sales. And for global staffing type roles, which we're trying to push more and more of, I totally see that, a Colombian closer is super viable. With our setup, it's more of a longer sales cycle and kind of enterprise level clients. And it's very much of like operations consulting, going through the sales cycle and like getting their sign off from their security team and their legal team and going through all the steps. And I do actually bring in members of my operations team to help with the sale and show the Philippines leadership or show my Colombian leadership. And they, even though they're operations folks, I've trained them in upselling, and they are very effective at, at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that the clients are interacting with. So they're very effective at kind of getting that final, right off of like, okay, these are the level of aptitude of people I'm going to be working with.
I love that. I love that. Let's pause.
Hey guys.
Sorry about that.
All good. Nos vemos.
Ready? There's a fucking paper over there that's driving me fucking crazy.
This is good, man. Any feedback or?
So far, so good, dude.
Cool.
You're crushing it. You're a natural.
Are you looking at the Sony camera?
I'm looking at both. Honestly, I'm kind of bad at that. I need to do more of that. But I'm looking at both these. I'm not looking too much at yours.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Cool.
Well, yours is not even relevant to me. But yeah, I'm doing a little both. All right.
Cool.
3, 2, 1. So you're the salesperson. That's interesting. I was in your shoes for a while, and I'll tell you right now, as soon as I removed myself from sales and I saw someone else closing the offer that they are, like literally my Colombians closing, hey, do you want to staff more Colombians? I'm like, bro, you're going to do way better than me. And it literally has been one of the best feelings in the world because I love sales. I think you love sales too. Obviously, you've been doing it for a while, but I've never been burnt out of sales until I got back into sales. Because I didn't have to sell consistently, and I even took sales calls yesterday. I'm like, dude, why are they talking to me? Like you're not talking to a Latino. You're literally talking to the co-founder. Like I get if my closer's not here or something. Like of course I'll be there, but I love buying things from someone that is literally the product themselves or the service themselves. So I think once you're able to find a closer for yourself, dude, it's gonna bro, you're gonna alleviate. You're gonna levitate. Because I never imagined me having a closer because I was so in the day-to-day of the sales process. So it's interesting. And then you also mentioned you have people in the back end that are doing upsells. Because we have basically 2 types of sales. We have the new clients, and then we're trying to get clients to buy more.
Yep.
Right? So those people there, you mentioned they're in the Philippines, and they are basically like kind of account managers of some sort, and then they're upselling people and getting more candidates.
Yeah. Our director of operations for both Colombia and Philippines are great at this, and our operations managers in each account. And the interesting thing is we have a very close-knit relationship with the larger clients that we're running the BPO services with. We meet with them every week, give them reports, and a lot of it is, first 10 minutes kind of talking shit and
catching up.
Catching up, and also just like understanding their businesses at a more intimate level and peering across, okay, hey, I see that you've got a US-based bookkeeping team. Like what areas could we leverage cost savings there? Or hey, like I feel this pain point of you, like you just said that you spent 3 hours making this report. Maybe a member of our team could help you in this area.
So speaking of clients, what is your ideal client? Who's your avatar? Who do you guys go for? Because you mentioned multiple different industries. So what does that look like exactly?
Yeah, our ICP is a Series A or Series B tech company that is growing and looking to bring on an operations partner. And I find that the best clients are the ones that are open to a two-way partnership. I see a lot of BPOs, the bigger BPOs, it's very much like a vendor and client, top-down relationship. And that's not really effective for getting the feedback back to clients about what they need to hear to set up their operations for success. So we like working with clients that are open to hearing feedback from us and also giving us feedback. And really also embracing the NeoWorkers as an extension of their own team. I've seen a lot of companies where they just kind of throw it over the fence and expect the BPO to handle it all. And that's not the right way to outsource. You really got to embrace them, bring them into your Slack channel, have them join your weekly meetings, treat them no differently than an internal employee, and then you'll be set up for success.
You're basically like a fractional HR for these people, right? They come to you guys, they just pay you guys. Do they have direct connection to the candidates? Do they talk to the candidates and do check-ins with them and train them as well? Or is it pretty hands-off?
Yeah, no. Some of our clients like to be involved in the interview process, especially smaller companies. And then some of our clients do one-on-ones, weekly one-on-ones, and I highly encourage that.
Absolutely.
For the larger accounts that we run, where we have that, the 30-plus seat accounts, where we have, supervisors in place, it's usually the clients more engaging with the supervisor and above layer than actual agents. But yeah, we embrace and welcome as much of people talking directly. And actually, talking about Karev from before, we actually invited their vendor manager to come to the Philippines, and she joined all of our parties last year.
Nice.
Got on the karaoke mic, so the more of that, the better.
I love that. That's the best way to build relationships, man. It's it's the real life. As much as we're remote, but in the end of the day, we're also humans, and the real relationships built in person, right? So you don't need to tell me who, but how many people did your biggest client hire from you?
Our biggest account is 55 headcount.
Wow. Yep. And those 55 work directly for the client, or do they have other things on the side, or just?
Yep, they're all dedicated staff working just on that.
Dedicated. Fuck, 55 is crazy, bro. That's insane. That's one massive account. So that's awesome. And in terms of turnover, so I think this is one of the biggest differentiators between us outside of our offer and whatever else. It's the LTV, right? Because my LTV is very unpredictable because you might hire one person, you might never hire another one. Majority of our clients do come back for a second, third. We have clients that upgrade to our 1-year package, whatever. But your LTV is a little bit more predictable, right? Have you, like, what are some things you're doing right now to increase your LTV in order, and as well as get your clients to also buy more from you?
Yeah, big thing is AI right now. We're actively helping our clients essentially cannibalize our own billable hours by leaning into our current workflows and saying, okay, which areas can be replaced by AI? But to your point about LTV, that's really just for the longevity of the partnership. Because if we're not figuring that out for them, they're eventually going to figure it out themselves. And I really see this happening in the next 6 to 12 months with more and more AI products coming out. So
for sure,
we're really trying to kind of beat it to the punch and just build that the long-lasting partnership and really get ingrained in the daily workings of their operations.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. AI is, man, it's exciting. It's also scary.
Yeah.
You know, like, especially like, so I was on a call with a friend. He was like, are you worried about AI? And I'm like, I'm not worried because we still hire a lot of non-basic roles, but there's like a 20-30% of my business is like executive assistant, very admin role tasks type that AI is like knocking on the door, you know, and it's about to open the door, and that's when things are going to get interesting. Not just for us, because I believe that we have so much leverage. We've created a good brand, so have you, that we can always start recruiting higher level people. I feel bad for like these VAs, like that. Don't worry about the company. The company's going to be fine. I have skill sets. If worst comes to worst, I'll figure it out, right? But if you have a low level skill set, AI is literally here. Like, it's here. It's not coming. It's already here. And it's your job to figure out how to become more valuable to where AI doesn't replace you, but you work better with AI, right? That's where I think the near future is. Whether the 3 to 5 year plan, I don't know, because I think it's going to get really crazy. But I think the near future is, how do we take a high level skilled person and integrate them with AI instead of hiring 14 different team members?
Yep, 100%. And that's why we're rolling out AI certified staffing. And essentially what that looks like is we've already developed these AI training materials in the background, and we want to only place people that have gone through our training and are essentially going to be 3 times as effective as someone that doesn't know how to use AI tools.
Yeah.
Whether that's Cloud or Lindy or
ChatGPT even, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I am also, something that keeps me up at night is like, what's going to happen to the team and the ones that aren't embracing AI. So I'm really pushing it.
Yeah.
We even like made it part of their annual performance review, is how well they're growing 1% each day and like learning AI products for like their salary increases. So there's a lot of incentive behind it, but they have to be up leveling.
Layla Hermosi says it best. There's only one of two reasons someone doesn't get something they want, especially in the career world. It's either a skill issue or a will issue.
Right.
So if you guys don't provide the skill, that's on you, right? But if you guys provide the skill and how they can level up, then and they don't, that's a will issue.
Yep.
And that's something that I'm always like, you know, when we're putting someone on a PIP, I'm like, is it a skill PIP or is it a will PIP? Skill, I can teach you. Will is a different story. It's a different conversation. It's a culture, you know, it's a cultural difference potential. Very, very interesting, man. So currently, I think you mentioned at the dinner, you guys have 300 employees?
200. Yep.
200. That's crazy. And are they your employees or contractors?
Some of them are set up as employees, but most actually are contractors. Okay. And we've gotten creative with Philippine and Colombian law, where basically they're opting in to work those shifts.
Yeah.
But they still get all the benefits of employee, like health insurance, 13-month pay.
Whether they're contractors or employees.
Correct.
I would love to dive into that. Before I do, have you noticed a difference between recruiting a contractor versus recruiting an employee, like on the front end of like trying to get the talent? Have you seen like, when you put out like, hey, you're an employee of record, all that stuff, do you feel like you get higher level talent?
No, because they're looking at the benefits. They're looking at health insurance and 13-month pay, things like that.
That's huge.
Yeah, so kind of high level. If anything, this isn't the best thing to say on the internet, but like our Philippines teammates, a lot of them aren't paying taxes. So they actually prefer the contractor setup because they're a little bit under the table. Colombia, it's a little bit more challenging to do that. So yeah, all I'd say is they don't really care about the classification, but they do, like top talent, they are looking for the top benefits.
And don't feel bad, because I promise you, Colombians don't pay their taxes. Actually, there's 60 million Colombians and only 10 million pay taxes, which is insane. And by the way, I kind of put one and two together. I'm like, how does a third world country that has so many resources How does a country that has so many resources, so much tourism, is a third world country? And it's purely because their own people don't give back to the country. And guess what? If I lived here, which I do, but if I was a citizen of Colombia, I probably wouldn't pay taxes either because it doesn't really go to the right hands, and then it becomes a dicey situation. That's a podcast for another time. So the contractor employee is very interesting. So you give everybody health benefits and all sorts of benefits, whether they're a contractor or employee. This is something I'm actually very curious on, as well as a lot of my clients. What's that process like? And like, have you guys ever offered, because the way I see it, I don't offer that right now, but I offer better pay than most people. Like we pay pretty, like insanely good. I already know that. Have you thought about like just paying them a little bit more instead of doing health benefits? Like where did that come from? Because that is a very BPO thing, to say the least, because I notice most BPO companies do offer that, where like recruiting companies don't, because also they don't work for me. But I would love if there's a chance for my team even to get health benefits and things like that. What's the process like? Have you thought about paying them potentially more? And for you, what is the benefit for you doing that?
Yeah, so a big thing is a lot of the talent we recruit from the BPO world, and it's tough for them to make that jump from having PTO days to, I'm like expected to work all the time and just not paid for these days. So it's made the transition easier. I also think just the economics of it, I found with recruitment that, the delta in how much more you can pay them versus what the cost is of these benefits, it is like more enticing for them to go for the benefits versus the equivalent cost and just added salary. So I played around with it a lot, and we'll negotiate as well of some, like, we give higher level health insurance, for example, to managers and above in the Philippines. It's not something I love, but it helps. It's in the norm in Philippines work culture to have different tiers of health insurance depending on the seniority. So we like to get pretty creative with compensation structure, and I'm really big into incentive-based pay as well. So tied to KPIs and performance, they get opportunities for bonuses.
We shifted the word bonus to performance based, because bonus is like a one-time thing, and if you expect a bonus every month, that's like, bro, you get a birthday bonus, but we switched that term to performance based. And I'm huge on that, man. I want people to make a little base, like enough to survive, right? But I want them to make majority of their pay through performance based. And it's, some roles is pretty easy because like sales, here's a little base and a commission, but some roles are a little bit more tricky, like a video editor, and like, certain roles are a little bit trickier. Going back to your avatar, so you mentioned tier 2 and tier 3 tech companies, which is interesting. So like SaaS, like basically startups in a sense, and that have a product or service that's already out in the market. They're making some money from it, I'm assuming. Have you, like, with SaaS companies, SaaS stresses me out, Josh, I'm gonna tell you the truth, because it doesn't make any sense to me. Their evaluation, like I know a company here in Colombia that wasn't profitable ever, and then they were worth $30 million, and I'm like, why and how? Because we operate on profits, so if we're not profitable, we're dead.
Right.
But SaaS is not like that. Have you noticed a difference of working with them? Because you also have like non-SaaS companies, and like in terms of like charging them and like their capital and all that stuff, like where do they get this money? Because I know a lot of them obviously are getting funded, but the ones that don't get the funding, like is it like coming from their own pocket? Like how does that work? Because SaaS like fascinates me, but also hurts my brain every time I think about like their valuation and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a wild world. And it's the reason why I was very intentional with like setting up NeoWork, that I didn't want to go the VC route. Because I tried that with a augmented reality startup and experienced that at Bird, where there's like the constant fear of needing to raise more cash in 2 months or else the company just implodes. And that is one of the challenges of working with tech clients as well, is that when they grow, it's great and there's expansion opportunities, but when the runway shrinks, that's when cuts happen. And I almost feel like I play like human Tetris sometimes, like moving people from downsizing accounts to growing accounts and trying to make it all work. But yeah, no, SaaS and just tech in general is my background and where my network is based. And those are the clients that we love to service, and they're typically solving really interesting problems that are really exciting to generate that valuation. So they end up being great places to work for our teammates as well, because the work is challenging. Every week, they'll change up the processes pretty dramatically.
Whatever it is,
So it's not easy, but it is pretty compelling work that they're doing.
Yeah, it's cool, man, because that's one thing I want to get into. I'm not from that world. We have a marketplace now, so we're like kind of, dipping our toes more and more. But I'm more, we work with real estate investors and, more brick and mortar businesses that transition to remote. But SaaS is the future. But that's the reality, especially with AI, right? So SaaS that combines it with AI and seeing how they're building a product from scratch and just being a part of that now with my team. Do you guys staff like developers as well, like front end, back end developers, up CEO, CTOs and things like that?
Yeah, not CTO level. I think that kind of that layer still makes sense to be US based.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're big onto staffing developers.
Interesting, very interesting. And is there one role you've noticed, and you might have mentioned this already, that you staff more than any other thing? Is it like the customer service role, or is there something that you guys are more known for?
Customer support that's kind of our bread and butter, ranging from very basic tier 1 to advanced technical tier 3 support.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where we started, and we've got a lot of great playbooks around that space.
For sure. So, I'm always also curious about like where you see this industry headed. You've talked about AI a few times, but I want to do two-part question. Where do you see your company in the next 1-2 years along with AI? Because one of the things that's going to be interesting for you, because you've staffed 200 people, like if the AI works as well as you think it will, you probably won't need 200 people.
Right.
So what's going to happen there? Number one, do you have a goal in mind in terms of where you want to be valued at over the next, 1 or 2 years? I'm just thinking short term, as well as the industry, like the industry as a whole, the recruiting, the virtual assistant, offshore recruiting. Where do you see that headed?
Yeah, well, I definitely see more and more companies becoming globally distributed, and companies just prioritizing where's the best talent, and it doesn't matter what country they're from. So that plays well for both of us. But I do certainly see AI impacting team size and team sizes in general going dramatically down, and the need for talent to really focus in on learning AI because in like a year it's going to be like someone that doesn't know how to Google something. It's going to be just like a core basic table stakes for working in the modern workplace.
Yeah.
And yeah, to answer your questions, in the next 2 years, I foresee us continuing to grow and expanding to new countries. But making sure that we don't lose sight of our core values. That's kind of the whole reason I started this company, to be different from those big BPOs that are bureaucratic and
corporate structure.
Yeah, exactly. So I never want to grow to a scale that would kind of necessitate some bureaucracy. And really excited by the potential of professional development, of really helping our teammates grow from individual contributors to overseeing managers and then overseeing agents, but AI agents. That's where I see the next role is, instead of a team of 10 support reps, we have one teammate that's overseeing
10 AI
customer support AI agents, tweaking their workflows. The best
quality assurance.
The best customer support reps are the ones that are the creative problem solvers that ask tough questions, not just the people that say yes and here's your refund.
For sure.
So staffing more of those types of talent profiles, overseeing AI agents.
Very interesting. Do you have a plan to exit? Is that is the goal? Because with recruiting, I believe at best it's like a 3 to 5x, right? Without a marketplace, that's what, or like a SaaS doesn't have to be a marketplace. That's why we created the marketplace, because we're like, the evaluation. 3 to 5 is still pretty good. Let's be honest. But do you plan on exiting, or is this something that you see yourself doing for the next several years, or what's your plan here?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the compounding effects over time of just organic growth. And same thing, it's right now NeoWork would be probably worth a 3x EBITDA multiple, which isn't very exciting. So you need to hit kind of the 10 million EBITDA figure for the multiples to start going up. Be exciting.
Yeah.
My advisor, he sold his BPO in 2020 pre-pandemic for 7x EBITDA multiple because he had that tech layer. So that's awesome to hear that you're actively investing in that area.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess to answer your question, I'm open to all options, but I'm really happy with what I'm doing right now and excited to grow.
Yeah, dude, I feel the same. It's just interesting because we're at a place where we're growing, and last year we overstaffed. I think I was telling you we overhired, and our profit took a massive hit to where our EBITDA is not I know we're valued more than we actually are because of my name and the brand. I think Remote Latinos is just a good name. Like just the name itself. We own latinosremotos.com, like the website. Obviously, that's a very small fraction of what matters at the end of the day, right? The actual service. So now one of the biggest things that we're shifting is like much more profit heavy operations, but also like being able to really grow this, because at the end of the day, like profit in our industry is super important. Without profit, like you don't really have a company. You're just up. You have a job, and what excites me is just like figuring that part out, because we've done so many things right. Like we hit, we're consistently now doing 6 figures a month, which is great. Like right around the 100K, which is like wow, that took years to get to, but we're finally here. Obviously, selling a one-time product as well, if you think about it, which is relatively impressive, but also like, what does it take for us to get from here to like 3, 4, 500K a month and then be more profitable, be lean and mean? I went to dinner yesterday with a gentleman that actually lives here in Colombia that does about 3 to 400,000 a month with 13 team members. And I'm like, oh, I get why you're paying yourself $10,000 a month for your rent. He like lives in his baller place and all that stuff. And I'm like, I want to get to that level, right? So that's the ultimate mission, because not only do I want to make money, yes, of course, but I can then reinvest into my team. I can donate to our charity here in Colombia that, both of us are a part of, and just like more money, yes, more problems, but also less headaches.
Yep.
So that's something that's super important to me.
And you're on the right path by just operationalizing your company more, and like removing yourself from sales is huge for driving value. As much as you can remove the owner from being an operator, that's going to drive up value.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, it's pretty cool because right now I'm not involved in a lot of like the day-to-day of many of the parts of the company. And I told my team, I was sending them Loom videos earlier, that I just want to focus on being a sales manager and a content creator. If I can do those two and just figure out this YouTube game, like YouTube to me, I was like, I love YouTube, and I'm like, dude, how do I become the go-to hiring guy? And it's funny because I've had multiple clients get into the YouTube game as of like this year, and they're starting to blow up their YouTube. It's like, dude, they got like 15,000 views in like the 4th video. Wow. Because they teach people how to make money. I don't teach people how to make money. I teach people how to hire and how to fire and how to hire remotely and culture and all this stuff that's not as sexy. But my goal is this year is to have literally hundreds, if not thousands of videos of just purely recruiting and hiring, anything that has to do with this space, that I'm the go-to guy for anything recruiting wise. And then with that, we want to attract higher level clients, because if you're recruiting, if you're hiring, that means you're already in the mindset of like growing the business. Yep. Like you don't want someone that has, and I'm actually curious, do you guys work with people that are like, they've never hired, don't know anything about it, like brand new, zero, they have some money? Do you guys work with those type of people that are like, Josh, I want to work with NeoWork? Like, what does that look like for you guys?
Typically no. We usually work with people that are looking to bring on, 2, 3 plus teammates. But if it's like a founder friend, or if it's someone that I almost feel like when I'm going through sales, I have to like wear kind of a VC hat and like determine if this is a company that could scale with us. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like there's definitely been a few times where we've said yes and they've ended up working out. Nice. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and it's been a kind of a good growing and lesson for us. Yeah. But yeah, we focus more on kind of companies that have already raised money, or even bootstrap companies that are growing organically and looking to scale their team.
It's cool you're putting yourself in a VC because you're basically the partner, right? But what's interesting is, and I'd love to hear your feedback on this, is if they're outsourcing, let's say just customer service, let's say everything else is good, and a company is coming to potentially acquire them, their valuation is actually lower because they don't own the process that you guys have. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say so, because the valuation is tied to their profitability as well, their EBITDA. And by outsourcing and leveraging that lower cost, that's increasing profitability for them. And with a acquiring partner coming in, we would continue to operate. That's happened to us before, where one of our clients was acquired, and there's a change in leadership and who we're reporting to, but the team continued to operate as is.
Has the flip side ever happened where they got acquired and they're like, hey, let's not work with NeoWork anymore. Let's move on to, like, let's bring these people in-house. Let's hire an HR person. Is that hired? Has that happened?
That hasn't happened yet. It's happened to one of my other BPO owner friends. I've seen that. And sometimes when an acquiring company will come in, there'll be a new vendor manager that maybe is buddies with another BPO, or they've had good experience and want to bring them in. So when that happens, it's a matter of showing that, we've got these past 24 months of strong KPIs, great CSATs, low cost compared to most BPOs, and making it a tough business decision for them to have to go to their boss and say, hey, let's spend more on potentially a equal or worse quality service.
Yeah, that's huge. It's like the data you guys have is kind of irreplaceable. And I just learned something new because I always thought that just being ignorant to the BPO space, just because I'm more familiar with headhunting and recruiting itself, but the BPO world, I always thought that because I don't own this process, I'm valued less because if I'm if I'm getting acquired, they're going to be like, wait, you don't run your own customer service? You guys outsource this? But what if they just don't want to work with you guys? Or what if they move around? What if they go under or whatever the case is? That would be like my concern if I was a VC,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sure, I don't know how involved you are in those conversations, but I'm sure they've had those conversations with, especially in the process of getting acquired. But I guess not. I guess it's not as common.
And to help solve for that, like all of the training materials we build out, it's got the client's logos on it. It lives in the client's drive. It's all their materials.
Yeah.
All the processes we build out, it's lives in their CRM typically. So yes, there's a layer of, hey, this third party helped us build it out, but I see it no different as like, hey, we use a accounting firm to keep our books up to this place, and they've got some processes, but at the end of the day, it's still,
Yeah.
bookkeeping.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting because I was again just ignorant about this industry just because I'm more familiar with. I'm actually more familiar not even with BPO and obviously headhunting, but the hourly rate because we have a competitor, very similar name. I'm not gonna say who they are, but they charge hourly, and they're legit. I've heard actually good things. I'm not gonna say bad things, but that's not a BPO. It's different than yours because you guys charge a monthly fee and then you pay your candidates. Is that how it would work?
With a lot of clients, though, we bill hourly as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And then you get a cut, and then the hirings get a cut.
Correct. Yeah, it's all baked into that cost. That hourly cost is candidate pay, also the benefits for the candidates, for the teammates, and then the management layer that's typically not billed to clients, so like the QA and the trainer.
Yeah.
That's also included.
Do you let the candidates decide on the client as well? Like, do you present them like a job offer and be like, okay, you have this offer, you have this, you have this. Which one do you choose? Or do you kind of just like, hey, you have an interview tomorrow, show up?
We typically do hiring dedicated for a specific client because we're looking for like background in health tech or background in whatever the industry is. So typically no. Sometimes though, when like they're an existing teammates, we'll give them the option of if their account is downsizing or there's a new opportunity, which one they'd like to choose between.
I see.
Yeah.
And then as we wrap up here, so out of 200 team members you have, congrats, that's amazing. How many of them are Filipino? How many of them are Colombian?
You got 170 in the Philippines, 30 in Colombia.
Okay, so Colombia's still growing. It's still like, okay, gotcha. So 170. I mean, so you're mostly Filipino still. Like that's very interesting, man. It mind blows me whenever I go to events how many people in our space, BPO, headhunters, hourly charge, whatever, still work in the Philippines. Like they're so heavy. And I asked them, like, have you thought about Latino? They're like, don't even want to think about it. I'm like, I'm so happy with Filipino. I was like, thank God. Have you ever heard of like Riva Global?
Oh yeah.
So I know the owner. I was just with him. He's a really cool dude. So I'm assuming they're like kind of, I wouldn't say like competitors of yours because they go for real estate people, but I'm sure there's certain things that I'll miss, across. There's also Sphere Rocket, but Sphere Rocket, Justin Nelson, he does what I do, just in the Philippines. But man, there's a lot of opportunity in the Philippines. There's also a lot of competition. I'm sure you're feeling it here, where Colombia just kind of feels like a blue ocean, and you're only in Colombia. I'm in Argentina, Bolivia, Peru. Like we're trying to really conquer like Latin America as much as possible. Have you seen like over the last few years like a competitor disadvantage? Like there's too many people going after the Filipinos, where it's like hurting the cost for you guys or anything along those lines?
Yeah, costs have gone up, and it's a good thing for the country, the Philippines. But that's also why I'm looking at other countries like Venezuela when that happens.
Yeah.
And it has gotten more competitive. There's candidates need to have a very fast recruiting cycle. Like if you have clients that want to extend the interview process out multiple steps, that usually doesn't work for us. So to answer your question, it's getting more competitive, and I'm curious also on your end, kind of what the country distribution looks like what percentage is Colombia versus the other top countries.
Dude, it's funny because I could show you like our chart. It's like 50 countries, so more or less maybe like 47, and top 5 are Colombia, Egypt. Egypt is incredible, by the way. Probably if I were you, I would start looking to Egypt immediately because they're like literally as talented, if not more. I'm not even joking. I was very mind blown by that because when I went to Egypt a few years ago, I went to Cairo and Giza. It was beautiful. The people that were helping me there, like they spoke English, but I never in my head I was like, you don't speak enough to even be considered. You know what I mean? You couldn't even go through the process. So I was like, they don't speak English there, being ignorant because of the experience I had there. And then I started seeing the talent that we have there, and I'm like, holy crap, like this is like next level talent. So Colombia, Egypt, Philippines is still up there. We get a lot from Mexico. The problem in Mexico is that it's more expensive than other Latino countries because they are close to the US. Yeah. So they cost a little bit higher. And then I believe it's between like Belize, Nicaragua, and Argentina, something along those lines. So Belize and Nicaragua, they actually have English is a national language for them. So that's a foreign word. Colombia, you know, at the end of the day, you and I are in Beijing, we're in a bubble. You go 15 minutes up north, 15 minutes south, dude, there's no English. You know what I mean? So we're kind of living in a bubble here, and we obviously get the best talent. But Bogota has much better English speakers as well. But like Nicaragua, English is a national, it's a spoken language there. Belize is the same. Yep. The problem is that they have a lot less people than Colombia. I think it's like 10, 20, 30 million, whatever the number is. So I would say those are the main ones that we had from, you know.
And is your recruitment process, like the number of interviews and assessments they take, is that different for Colombian talent versus Egypt versus Philippines?
We try to standardize it for scalability purposes. However, certain roles, we do have to take extra tests or help the client create a skill test or have the client create like a skill test, help the client create some sort of skill test / a test that is more towards them. It's very customized. But we try to standardize it because we're recruiting so heavily on a regular basis that I don't want to overcomplicate the process. This is something that we've gone back and forth up until like Q4 of last year. We, at one point, it was very hard to go through our process. And then at one point, it was very easy to go through our process. So I think there's a good middle ground where you don't want to be, I'm not hiring professors. I'm not hiring rocket scientists. So there needs to be, it doesn't need to be super complex, but I also don't want to hire drug dealers and like people that are clearly not a good fit. So there needs to be like a layer. And the layer for us is the application process they have to go through. But the ultimate deciding factor a lot of times is the interviews they do. They do 2 interviews. They do one, it's actually saying video introduction, talk about themselves, and you know, it's a 3 to 5 minute question, the video, they answer some questions, and then they do an AI interview. So we use myinterview.com, and it's specifically, we've created about 10 different ones, and it's specifically for the role. So that's been a really good game changer for us, because what we noticed is the AI interview, they're not prepped at all. So they have no ideas what question come. It literally is a really simple question, and then it's like, wow, that's a crazy question. They have 1 minute to answer, and you cannot restart. Like once you start the process. Yeah. So I like that because it kind of puts them in the spot. And then ultimately, then the next layer is my clients. So like just like you, my clients are usually already hired people. And if they've never hired anyone, they have no idea. We just have to spend more time with them. And then I'm like, you're paying me the same as someone that just like, sure, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit. It becomes a little bit interesting there, but yeah, man, the AI interview has been a big game changer. Just like the communication with our team, the recruiters, the communication with the clients. It's very easy to tell when someone wants something versus they don't want it. It's very easy to tell when someone is BSing. Sometimes it's hard to tell, I would say, the BSers because you can lie on a lot of the process. And then I would say like everything that we do is we're like professional addition creators. They're doing additions with us. You're doing additions. You gotta you gotta have the best resume, the best video, and the best experience. My team has better say good things about you, and then the client must feel really good about you because the audition went really well. But then the movie starts. And how did you do in the movie? How did you go from reading the script to actually performing the script? Yeah. Right. That's literally how I see what we do here, and it's interesting because, man, it's psychology. Yeah. Humans are fucking wild. I'm sure you see this.
That's why I love the business because our product is people, and with people that every day is different, and
every day there's so many things that are out of our circumstances. I mean, you're dealing with Philippines where there's like, bro, it's like every other month it feels like something happens there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, and the fire,
fires and hurricanes and tornadoes and typhoons, and it's like, my God. Where in Colombia it's like mostly good. Like we might have internet issues here and there. Yeah, it's not perfect. Even for us, like, there's storms here. But nothing to where in the Philippines. And I think that's one of the things that is triggering people to work less with the Filipinos because of their experience, which is good for you to open up the Colombia because I think there's a lot of opportunity here. And when you get to Venezuela and maybe even Mexico, wherever, man, you're going to see like some of the best talent ever. Yeah. And one of the things I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, do you care more about talent or location? Care about talent? Cool. I'm going to find someone in Bolivia maybe, or maybe in Peru. and maybe in Chile, because it doesn't matter. You're remote. You care about the talent and the person actually being good rather than location. I actually just had a call earlier, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm building an office in Buenos Aires." So I was like, "Dude, that's cool, but we're remote Latinos, not local Latinos." You know what I mean? So like, I want to really enforce you, and as much as I can, to run a remote company, because at the end of the day, it is the future, and the future is now. So,
do you have any prospects that are say answer the location or talent question with location?
1 or 2 out of 10, because they are so familiar with the country. So it happens in Colombia. I don't know if you've experienced people have been here that love Colombia. They're like, dude, I need someone in Colombia. And I'm like, I get it. I love Colombia too. But if someone in Venezuela, as good, if not better, at a lower cost, maybe, why would you not consider that person? You know what I mean?
They selfishly want a reason to travel to Medellin.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I get it. I live here, it totally makes sense. But I know for me, I'm hiring talent over location. It's something, I don't know if I told you this at dinner, but I just found this out. So we have like a soft partnership with Deal, and where we're going to help potentially with, some payroll stuff and just sending our clients there, because Deal's pretty expensive if you don't go through us, to be honest with you. So if you go through us, my clients go through us, they get a ginormous hookup. I'm actually not even making money from this. So I'm giving back to my clients. I'm like, yo, use Deals, they're compliant, da-da-da. But what I didn't realize, you know how much money Deal made last year?
They are going crazy. Did you see the whole deal? I don't know the deal espionage.
I saw that. I did see that. My friend works there, so he was the one to tell me that. Yeah. They did $800 million in revenue last year, which is pretty good. Their value of $12 billion. They're 100% remote, with over 5,000 members, employees, contractors, whatever. Yeah. So if that doesn't tell you in your face that this is possible, as well as now Go High Level, I'm much more familiar with Go High Level. I live with one of the top affiliates here, and been using Go High Level as well. They're 2 to 3 billion in valuation, also 100% remote. Because sometimes you start questioning this, because you see all the corporate companies and they're going, like, Elon was remote, then he's like, no, everybody's got to go back to the office. I'm like, dude, Elon's saying this, like, what the fuck? Patrick McDavid says the same thing. He's like, I want to only in-person team. I don't want remote people. And I'm like, man, these are people I look up to. Yeah. So you start questioning remote world, but then you see, I question, but I can also see the pure facts that Go High Level and Deal, and I mean, various other companies have been able to scale to not millions, not hundreds of millions, to billions of dollars in valuation, purely remote. Right. So that inspires me and that motivates me to continuously figure out how to do this remote thing as best as possible. And now with AI and, finding out more the best talent in the world, I think it's just like, it's all coming together more and more.
Totally. I'm a big proponent of virtual offices as a way for teammates to still be remote, wearing their PJs from the waist down, but have an actual office where, like, I'm walking from one office to the other, and I'll run into a support rep that I don't normally talk to, and just like seeing how the day is going, and not having to, schedule a call for tomorrow at 4 p.m. to meet with them, but just get that little rapport in there.
So you're using Gather?
It's called Frame.
I've heard of it. Similar to Gather, I think.
Instead of like the Pokemon style, it's more like, looks like Sims.
Oh, nice. But so we tried that, man, and I loved the idea. Icon, my roommate, one's like one of the biggest event companies. He does it, and he was a big proponent of it. And I'm curious because now you're doing it, and I'm like, maybe I should do it too. But like, dude, I'm on calls all day, and like, I don't have like time to go through there. And I think it's cool some parts, but do you ever feel like it's distracting? Do you see like a con to it as well?
Sometimes, like Gather, we played around with it too earlier before going to Frame, and they have like, a bunch of board games and like go-karts, and it's fun, but it can be distracting.
Yeah.
But I see the pros far outweighing the cons.
Mostly just like the team culture and just being there for, and you have all 200 people on there?
Yeah.
Wow.
We have different floors per account.
But this is for Frame, right? So you guys go up, and then this office has this people, this. It's really interesting. You ever just walk around, just like see what's up?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's super cool. And I'll definitely consider that, man. I just was like, I'm on calls all day. I don't even check it. Like, I'm on meetings, and then by the time I finally have time to go and Gather or Frame, whatever, everybody's clocked out.
Sure.
So that's something I've noticed. I don't know if you've noticed as a CEO.
It's great, especially for sales teams. If you've got a group of SDRs or appointment setters, put them on the floor. You can get the gong set up, and whenever someone makes an appointment book or sale, ring the gong, and like everyone celebrates. It like recreates the energy of being in person for sales team, which is very important.
Yeah. We have that similarly on Slack. So I feel like our Slack communication is so superb, and like people are, they have Slack on their phone and their computer, and like that's the first thing that we care about. It's one of my core values is like elite communication. I want to we're not communicating good with each other, how are you going to communicate with candidates or clients? Like everything's going to fall apart. That's really interesting, man. So as we wrap up, last couple questions. Obviously excited about the future, excited about AI, excited about like continuously growing this, and seeing where the valuation continuously grows. What would you say to someone that is not yet ready to hire someone offshore, but they have a lot of work and they're doing all the work themselves? But what would you say to someone that's like the CEO and they're wearing all the hats in the company, and it's pretty clear that they should hire someone? What would you say? What would you tell someone like that?
What would you do with 20 more hours per week? That's the starting point. All the areas that you're working in the business right now of things that are probably important, like bookkeeping or making sure everything's paid right and staying on top of emails. But at the end of the day, if you could be spending those 20 hours on growth or changing up your offering, that's going to be such a better leverage of your time. And that's a great use case for outsourcing, is to handle those repeatable tasks, those things that are, every business needs, but it doesn't need to be the owner that's actually involved in those day-to-day operations. And like it's tough for especially like first-time founders to delegate away that stuff. But the aha moment that I see of like once they, log in for the day and their email inbox is already cleared because their VA has already handled it all, that's just such a huge unlock for them to be able to work on more high impact areas of the business.
Absolutely. And last question here. The term, you just said it actually, it was late. I was kind of thinking about a question and you said it. The term VA. I don't know how you feel about it. I'm not a big fan of it. Actually, we only use it for marketing purposes because when I'm like remote teamwork, we try to get all these fancy names that just doesn't like work as well. So VAs, we only use that literally just for marketing purposes. But I'm an anti-fan. I don't know what the opposite of fan is, but I don't like that term. I feel like it degrades people. And I feel like when I think of a VA, I think of a very low level skilled person, not a bad person. If you're a VA, you're a good person, but very low skill level, right? Someone that's like $2-3 an hour. I wouldn't even say $4, like $2 to $3 an hour. Because you're working mostly with Filipinos, that's like your go-to for at least for now. How do you feel about the term VA? Do you guys use that term? Like, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, we also use the term because again it's so widespread. But I agree. It's a lot of people. When they think of the Philippines, they think of just support reps or just basic level tasks. But there's such a huge pool of amazing talent for high level strategy thinkers and director levels. Shout out to Jill and Dulce, my two directors in the Philippines. But there's so much potential, and yeah, I agree that the title we'll also use it in marketing and sometimes internally, but we try to make our titles more specific to what they're actually doing. Clinical operations associate or like technical support representative, because again, it's just too vague of a word.
Boom. Cool. Josh, where can people find you? How can they get connected to your company? And do you have anything else to say to the beautiful people watching this?
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. And Amir, I love your background as well. And the crazy parallels we have with our Atlanta Russian Jewish staffing company background. So thank you for having me on. But yeah, you can find me. I'm very active on LinkedIn, Joshua Adelman. And then you can also find my company, NeoWork.com.
Boom. Joshua, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, man. Boom.
We're out. Make America remote again, baby. Let's go.
Let's do it.